Now to campaign 2022, and Secretary of the State candidate Dominic Rapini not in favor of early voting.
And tonight, as part of our week-long series on the candidates for the position, Rapini is explaining why.
Channel 3's chief political reporter Susan Raff sat down with him ahead of the big vote.
Dominic Rapini is not a politician, although he did take a shot at U.S. Senate in 2018. He's not in favor of more access to voting. Instead, he wants to improve upon the system we already have.
I got involved in looking at Connecticut elections, and I really enjoyed it because there's a lot of stuff that's really speaks to my skill sets, right? A lot of technology. In fact, it's probably the most technologically demanding job in Hartford.
Dominic Rapini is a businessman. He works for Apple. That's the technology part. But for the last 3 years, he's been board chair of Fight Voter Fraud, a grassroots organization that focuses on election issues. Denise Merrill, who was the Secretary of the State for over 10 years, pushed hard for early voting. Connecticut is one of only 7 states that doesn't allow voters to cast a ballot prior to Election Day without an excuse.
Early voting in Connecticut is a big problem, okay? And here's why. One, I just told you that all of our election officials, almost all of them are part-time.
Expanding voting would require more full-time staffing.
In all the states where there is early voting, there's plenty of them, they have full-time election officials and they have county government.
Rapini feels Connecticut should move its primaries to the spring, giving voters and candidates more time to get engaged before the November election. He says the August primaries aren't enough time. He also supports a government ID in order to vote.
You know, we need a government ID to get a COVID shot, right? To get access to airplanes. And the real problem is, why don't people, if there's people who don't have IDs, let's find a way to get them to them for free or nominal charge.
Connecticut has had some voting issues. Bridgeport ran out of ballots in 2010 and in 2019. Stratford mixed up a few ballots and gave out wrong districts. But the Secretary of the State's office says most of the issues have been mistakes. Rapini agrees there isn't much fraud, but says enough of it to diminish voter trust.
You don't think it should be changed?
I don't think it should be changed. I believe in one day of voting. We've been doing it for what, 244 years? We have a high turnout of 75%.
Rapini faces Terry Wood in the Republican primary on August 9th, which is next Tuesday. Our next profile for Secretary of the State is Terry Wood, a state representative who tells us why she is running. At the state capitol in Hartford, Susan Raff, Channel 3 Eyewitness News.